1 o'clock. Thank you, everybody, for being here. By means of introduction, my name is Joe Villanueva, Johnson County Prosecutor. Here at the table I have seated me Chief of Franklin Police Kirby Cochran, Sheriff Dwayne Burgess, and Greenwood Police Chief James Eisen. We all want to thank you here for coming today to learn a little about our latest drug operation trying to keep drugs out of the streets of Johnson County, dubbed Operation United Front. The last time we were here in front of you guys was actually October of 2019 for Operation Hocus Pocus. COVID kind of put a bit of a pause on the world, and we are we are here, we are back in business, and that's what we have just tried to do today. Each of us will have a chance to speak a little bit on this operation and some other things related to drugs in our communities, and we'll be happy to take some questions. I'm going to kind of really speak to some of the stats of this operation, and for all the media, we'll have all this stuff available digitally after we're done here. Booking photos, which you've seen, probable cause affidavits, and some of the statistics I'm going to read off for you now, that'll all be made available for you, so you don't need to worry about trying to jot it down real quick. This newest operation, dubbed Operation United Front, was a operation, again, to try and get the drug dealers off our streets and drugs out of our cities and our towns here in Johnson County. There were 34 people who were actually the target of this. I'm happy to say that 25 of those 34 have been captured or otherwise incarcerated as a result of this operation, so that is a resounding success. The other ones will be hunted down individually. Those warrants were previously sealed, so they weren't part of the public view. Those names, faces will all be released, and we hope to be able to get the rest of those people into custody in short order. There is an opioid epidemic that plagues our towns, our cities, our state, and our country, but methamphetamine is still king here in Johnson County. Of the 67 drug counts that were filed in part of this operation, methamphetamine comprised 28 of those, more than the next two combined. If we went down what kind of drugs were being sold as part of this operation, meth is number one at 28. Narcotic drugs were the next, including heroin and fentanyl, ecstasy, methadone, morphine, hydrocodone, oxycodone, Suboxone, Xanax. We had somebody sell us some fake heroin, and one guy was even charged with theft for giving the buy money to the narcotics officers and then never actually producing the drugs. He just stole the money. We do have a group here that is all new. There is nobody who was part of this roundup who was part of any kind of previous roundup we have done. They range in age from 24 to 60 years old. Just like anything else, they come from all over. There's no one city or town that is responsible for these people and the problems they cause. They come from Greenwood, Trafalgar, New Whiteland, Franklin, Indianapolis, Avon, all over the place. We do have a couple left from Hocus Pocus that are still being cleared up. Some of those are still warrants that are not ever been served. That may happen with us here too, but we're still doing our best to try and hunt down those people. A couple unique things about this particular bust, and I don't know that we've ever had anything like this previously, is some family connections. In this particular roundup, we had two mother-daughter combos. It's not often that we see family members get caught or charged with dealing drugs together. In this case, there are two mother-daughter combos, Brittany Venema and Jennifer Purdue Venema. Jennifer is there on the board, as you can see. Both of them were alleged to deal in heroin. Brittany is actually not on that. Her deals were taken and dealt with separately from this because some of them were actually with mom, and we didn't want to take a chance on burning the CI or the undercover officer. So her case has been resolved. She's actually in prison right now, but some of her deals took place the same with mom's, but we dealt with her separately. The second one was Kayla and Christy Ratliff. They are both on the board there. They were both alleged to deal Suboxone, so it's kind of interesting. We don't usually see family members who are engaged in this kind of alleged behavior. That's something new for us, but we will handle them in the same manner as we do everybody else. Don't know that I have anything else as far as statistics, so I would turn it over to Chief Cochran for any kind of comments that he has about the operation.
Thanks, Joe. I appreciate it. First of all, I want to give thanks to all the narcotics guys. from the Sheriff's Office, Greenwood Police Department, and the City of Franklin. These guys work hard, long hours. They're out there on the streets behind the scenes, and unfortunately, we can't give them the thanks that they deserve. But I can tell you they're doing hard work. It's effective, proactive narcotics work by those guys, so we want to say thanks to those guys. Without them, we couldn't make it possible. The prosecutor's office is always supportive. The mayor of Franklin's here as well. The mayor and I met, we talked about some things in the city, and our big goal in the city of Franklin is to target some of these housing areas where these drugs take over communities, and the citizens are calling every day with complaints. We just want you to know we hear your complaints. We're out there, we're working. Sometimes it doesn't happen overnight, but we are working. We're taking back these neighborhoods. We're not going to allow these drugs to take over our neighborhood. As long as I'm police chief here, narcotics enforcement will be a priority. I feel like we have a great relationship with the Sheriff's Department and the Greenwood Police Department. It can't be done by one agency. We can't accomplish what we need to accomplish. As you heard the prosecutor say, 28 out of 34 doesn't seem like a big number. But I can tell you this, in the city of Franklin alone, I'm speaking for our city, in the last 7.5 months, we've had 38 overdose calls. 8 of those resulted in deaths. That's 8 too many, folks. We're not going to tolerate it. So if you're out there dealing drugs in our community, it's not going to happen. We're going to continue to be proactive. We've put together a targeted patrol team. We're going to continue to target these areas. And to name a few, if you're in these areas, Overstreet, Hurricane Street, Yandy Street, Johnson Avenue, we're coming. We're not going anywhere. We're here to stay. We got a solid team. We got a prosecutor that's working hard to help us put these folks in prison. And that's exactly what we're going to do. Anybody that we missed, just know we're still coming. We're still looking. We got guys on the street. We're not going away. So we can't continue to have deaths in the city of Franklin and throughout the country. And that's why we do what we do. So just want to say thanks to the Sheriff's Office and Chief Eisen for being willing to come together and develop a partnership. We're big on community partnerships, but the narcotics partnership that we have, we got one of the best narcotics enforcement teams in the country, in my opinion. So without further ado, Sheriff.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Kind of the same. I want to thank all the narcotics officers and everybody that came together this morning to make this operation happen. A lot of folks don't get to see these narcotics officers. They're the ones out making these buys. They're putting their lives on the line, just as everybody else, but they're taking it to another level and taking these folks off the street. Sheriff's Department, Greenwood, we're all in the same boat. We've got ODs that occur. I see it from other sheriffs across the state of Indiana. The emails where I'm getting it, where somebody has sold some heroin in a certain county and now they're having several deaths because of that. The partnership, I cannot comment on the partnership that we have right now. It is great. Franklin and Greenwood and all the other agencies in the county and the prosecutor's office, we work very good together. I don't think there's a week or a day that goes by that I don't talk to Chief Cochran or Chief Eisen. We plan things out to be smooth, to work. We're not going to stop doing what we're going to do. We're always going to be proactive. We're not going to be reactive to any of the crimes that are occurring. We want to be on top of our game and doing what's right for the people of Johnson County. This particular roundup was much smaller than the other roundups that you saw. If it's 50 or 100 folks, we did that for several reasons. You know, I take care of the jail. We have to do the jail transports to pick these people up from wherever they're getting arrested and get them to jail. But some of these individuals have to be housed in different locations. They can't be housed with some of the other folks that's been arrested because they've been in other drug deals, and that causes me issues within the sheriff's office and the jail. These warrants this morning, when they were executed, went smoothly. No one was hurt, no issues, but it took many weeks of planning for these roundups to occur. And as I promised when I was elected sheriff, just like these individuals, the chiefs that are up here, we're going to be very proactive. We're going to work diligently. We're going to let the people of Johnson County know. We want them to be safe, and we're going to continue to do the job that they expect of us.
Thanks, Sheriff. The cooperation and collaboration between the 4 agencies represented here today is stronger than it has ever been. We work very well together, and together we are over 200 strong law enforcement professionals that all have the same goal, and those goals are to keep drugs, guns, and dangerous criminals off of our streets. I do want to take this opportunity to thank the many hardworking detectives and officers who made this mission possible, who put in countless hours, day after day, month after month, to bring the 25 individuals to justice that we did today. We will continue to work in Greenwood. When I became chief, I brought back our narcotics detectives from a federal task force. They were working for the DEA task force. That was a wonderful opportunity for them, but I wanted to build our narcotics division and get them back into our community, working specifically in Greenwood and Johnson County. That's exactly what they've done. They've done a fantastic job, and I couldn't be prouder.
One last group I think we forgot to sort of appreciate too is our clerk of courts and our judges, obviously, to help get those things through on the back end. Without their assistance, we couldn't get these things filed and done in a timely manner. And also our friends in Marion County that helped execute some of these warrants up there. They know the lay of the land much better up there, and they were able to take some of that workload off us to allow our guys and gals to be down here and focus on the people in Johnson County. So we would obviously express our thanks to the Marion County sheriffs and IMPD people as well. So with that, is there any questions we can answer for anybody?
When did United Front begin? When did you guys start this?
Well, it's probably something we thought about for a while. We wanted to have a roundup previously. COVID really just made that impractical for many reasons. Our narcotics guys were always still buying dope off the streets, and we would just kind of take some of those cases and put them in as they were able to be put in. But as the numbers kind of slowed, I know they're ticking back up now, but this was planned a little bit in advance. We saw an opportunity to come back and do this. So the deals, there was a lot of the deals that were part of this roundup that were conducted exclusively in 2021. We'd like to try and have smaller deals, as the sheriff said, not only for logistical purposes to help out the jail and other things, but it also allows to have a shorter time frame with the amount of time these people are out on the streets. We'd like to try and get a couple deals for later legal purposes, but we want to try and get these people caught and off the streets as soon as possible. And with smaller deals, you know, we can get that done in a shorter time frame than if we're waiting to build up to a number like 100 or 120 that we've done in the past. We're not doing those anymore.
Are these charges tough enough to ensure that they're not on the street tomorrow doing the same thing?
Well, there's different levels of charges for all these people. Obviously, they have bonds that they can post bond. They're entitled to post bond, and we have a local bond schedule that determines those things. Some of these people have other charges that are pending. We will obviously argue against bonding for any of these people. But however, if they did post bond, there's nothing we can do to stop that. We do have a program that we participate in that's been a requirement from the Indiana Supreme Court, which is Criminal Rule 26. There were some bond hearings that the Indiana Supreme Court has demanded that we have to make sure that you're not holding, in essence, people who are too poor to bond in custody. We obviously will argue against any of those people getting released because they are dangerous to our communities by what they're doing. We want to try and keep them in as much as we possibly can.
And you touched on the 9 remaining.
Yes.
Folks that you guys are looking for. Any plan for them or kind of game plan?
Some of them are warrants that were never able to be served. They're out in the wind. We don't know where they are. You know, if they get picked up on a traffic stop in Iowa, we'll go get them. Sometimes we just don't know where they are. There are some that are still working their way through the system. Again, COVID really kind of put a pause on our ability to get things done in court. I think those are in the latter stages. That is almost, I think, completely wrapped up. But for the people, we don't know where they went.
And you said how many were from your original initiative, Focus? You were still looking for a couple?
There were 31 in there. There's 9 that are left, and of those 9, there are some, and I don't have an exact number for you, 4 or 5 that the warrants were never served, and just a small handful that are still finishing their way through the system.
What are the merits of doing a large one versus small arrests whenever you get the information? Would
just with the larger numbers that you have, it's difficult on the jail when they're receiving that many inmates in a short period of time. But just because we're having this roundup doesn't mean that other folks are not being taken off the street by the narcotics division outside of a roundup. So we're just trying to keep that number much smaller, keep it going. It's easier to work with smaller numbers than the large numbers.
So I'd like to elaborate on that a little bit. We just had a week or so ago, our narcotics guys, in one of these targeted areas, Leanne, you and I have talked about this before, in a hotbed in the city of Franklin, over on Hurricane Street in that area. We're going to continue to saturate that area. But I can tell you this, we took 4 or 5 people out of that house, and, these people are back out. To ask that question, yeah, people have a right. They do have a right to bond and all that stuff, but we also have a right to keep coming back, and we're going to keep going back. So the most important thing of that I want to get across is even though we're out enforcing the laws, we got people dying here, folks. This is serious business for us. These are people in our community that are selling dope to our kids. They're destroying the neighborhoods. They're destroying the homes. Just yesterday, we boarded up a house over on Overstreet. It's a known drug house. I was inside that house myself. It's not a place for anybody to be living, but, you got women and children going in and out of the house. So those are important things to remember. The numbers are great and all that. We got to be cognizant. The sheriff's got to be able to house these folks, and the prosecutor's got to have time to get the paperwork filed and all that stuff. But the bigger deal is we got folks dying, and we can't tolerate.
How did you come across these people that were arrested, and how can people help you come across more people?
I think it's just simply reporting these to our tip lines. If you have that information, communicating that with us, and we pass that along to our narcotics guys, our other detectives, and they go working. It's just like Chief Cochran said, we do saturated patrols. Greenwood's been actively involved in that, where we'll hit an area that we know that there's a problem, and that also leads and helps us build other cases on folks, and it just spurs out. I mean, it's always, you find one individual, then that'll take you to another individual, then you just keep following those, the criminals, I guess.
Can you elaborate more on what Greenwood's doing for drug prevention?
Yeah, so about a year ago, we had our narcotics division was working with the DEA task force, which was a very useful resource for us because we had federal resources available to help us in Greenwood. The problem with that is that our investigators were also working outside of Greenwood with other members of the task force in their cities and communities. So what I wanted to do was I added one investigator to our narcotics division and brought them back to work solely in Greenwood and Johnson County and focus on our communities and the problems that we're having.
Well, thank you, guys. We'll make sure that stuff's available for everybody digitally here in a couple minutes.
Thank you.